Welcome to the Mother Nose Show. I am Mother Nose, and I am super excited. This is my third episode of my podcast, and I am inviting my friends to come and chat, talk about what they got going on, and let's go down memory lane. So today, my special guest is Grammy Award winning singer, songwriter, and producer. Okay, she is mainly known for being the lead vocalist of R&B girl group who we love, Brownstone, who rose to fame in the mid-1990s, best known for their 1995 hit single, If You Love Me, Say It. Oh, yes, honey, which was nominated for a Best R&B Performance Grammy Award. Let's welcome to the Mother Nose Show, Nicci Gilbert.
Woo-hoo!
You got it. What's up, Nicci?
Hello, mother. How are you?
Oh, I'm happy. I'm ecstatic. I'm
I
finally
know that's right. What's
with you.
popping in Philly? What's popping
Oh,
in
child, there's so
Philly?
much rain in Philadelphia. The rain can go to Spain, Nicci.
I know that's right. Go to Spain. Just take us with you.
How are
First
you
class, all
doing?
expense paid.
Yeah, oh, first class diva, right?
That's baby. Listen, that's
Okay.
Angie. Actually, that's Angie Stone. First
Shout out
class,
to
baby.
Angie,
First
correct.
class.
How are you, my friend?
Sometimes I'll be in the back, depending on what's going on with the
Listen,
miles
I've been in the
situations.
Rosa Parks
Upgrade,
section too, honey. I've been in seat number 30A, right by the engine. I get it.
baby. Listen.
How are you, my friend?
I am well. I am well. It's hard to believe in a couple months I'm gonna be hitting that 54.
Get
So
out of
that's
here.
yeah, I'll be 54.
You look good,
I will be
Nicci.
54 in July. Yep.
What's the
So I
secret?
had to give me some Janet Jackson Poetic Justice braids just to remind myself of the old days.
Let's talk about the old days and let's take it back. Take us back to how you got your start in the music business, Nicci Gilbert.
Oh, you know what's really funny? Speaking of Philly, my mother-in-law is coming to hang out with us for a minute, and I was getting the guest room ready for her, and I was talking to my grandson, and he just randomly asked me how I met Michael Jackson, and he's helping me clean up and make up the bed, and I'm telling him the story, and he's so captivated by it. This was literally last night. So, long story short, I won't make it as long as I did with my grandson because I gave him all the details. But it was one of those things where I had a lot of I like self-confidence, I guess, just if I'm gonna be totally honest with you. And I didn't really think I had all of the packaging to be a solo artist, but I was like, listen, if I just put together a group and everybody can sing their face off and we just really go hard on these harmonies and write really great songs, we might get somewhere. So I put an ad in the paper called the Drama Log. And that's that thing back in the day in LA, and it may still be around, I don't know, but it was like a free paper, right? Because that's all I could afford was free 99. And we put an ad in Drama Log. I booked a space, Debbie Reynolds Studios, and I had auditions. And that is where I met Maxie and Mimi. And actually, there were 5 of us. Barry Gordy's niece, I'm not Barry Gordy, Barry White's niece was a part of the group. And a beautiful, talented singer out of New York, Selena Morel, was a part of the group. So we actually, Brownstone was 5 for about 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, for about 2 days we was 5. And then I'm a workhorse, so I'm like rehearsal. They're like, okay, well, we didn't know it would take all this, but Maxie and Mimi, of course, stuck it out. I wrote a bunch of songs back in the day. That's when you had to really rehearse and practice and put together your demos. Please listen to my demo. And we actually went, and the story of meeting Michael Jackson's team is crazy. Maxie and I were walking down Melrose when it was, Melrose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this guy walked up to her, Shep, and he was like, "Oh, you're beautiful. I'm a singer. I'm a pop singer, white guy." And he was like, "I would love for you to be the lead girl in my video." So Maxie was like, "Well, I'm a singer." And I'm like, "Girl, please, you better go and get that Naomi Campbell exposure." So we went. He was shooting the video in the desert. The song was called Crashing. I'll never forget. So on the way back, they had 2 15-passenger vans. One of the vans broke down. So the guy whose parents were funding the video was like driving one of the vans, and I was in the van with him while the talent, which was Maxie at the time, and Shep were in the van ahead of us. Tire blew out. We said, just go ahead, get the shot because of daylight. I'll stay behind with him and network a little bit. Long story short, we sat on the side of the road for a couple hours. Nobody came. So then we walked. We were stranded in the middle of nowhere, basically. Walked to this place. This guy ended up leaving me because he got into an El Camino. It sounds like I'm making it up, but it's as real can be. got into an El Camino with two, older white men. I was like, I'm not driving 2.5 hours back to LA with people I don't know. So he left me. I'm crying, stranded. Call Mimi. She picks me up the next day. One of the guy Shep calls and says, I'm sorry my friend left you. That was out of order. We want to do an introduction to a friend of mine who's in publishing. I want to take you to lunch to make it up to you. We're really sorry. We go to lunch. We go to the meeting with the guy. We meet with Barry Kolsky. He says, now we're looking for. On the way out the door, two women, I will never forget, Marla and Linda, were like, what was that you guys were singing upstairs? And me and my Detroit, some songs I wrote, some songs we arranged, blah, 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 blah. So they're like, can you sing them for us again? So we sang them for us. They asked us to come back. They said, we want to take you to introduce you to a friend of ours named Jerry Greenberg, took us and introduced us to Jerry. And the rest is MJJ history and in the book.
The first album. It's so good. From the bottom up. Nothing but hits, Nicci. From the Gate, If You Love Me, All My Faves, Grapevine. I could go on, and I'm going to continue. Yes. Listen, Half of You and Don't Cry For Me, especially Don't Cry For Me. That song means everything to me. You girls knocked that out the park. Do you remember recording these songs?
I do. And it's funny because Don't Cry For Me was also one of Tupac's favorite songs. He told me he listened to it over and over again for inspiration. So yeah, I remember it was after my grandfather actually passed away, just really inspired to write from the perspective of loss. And baby, when I tell you, we was putting the backgrounds together and I was just like, why are we singing? Why are we being the Clark sisters in this three of us? And we not from Detroit with Maddie Moss Clark. So that was a really proud moment. Yeah.
Name five.
I remember just working our butts off. We went to New York. The record label actually, when they discovered that we were kind of self-contained and, love to write, they sent us to New York and we just went crazy. Writing with
everybody went crazy when we heard the album. Like I said, hit after hit after hit. And then you got the stamp of approval from the icon, the king of pop, Michael Jackson.
Yes, sir.
How does that make you feel, Nicci Gilbert? That's the creme de la creme. For Michael Jackson to sign you to his label, MJJ, via Columbia.
Yes, MJJ Epic.
Epic.
Well, Epic Columbia, it's all the same. It's all the same umbrella. Incredible. I still have to remind myself sometimes, because you tend to be like, okay, I got to do the next thing and I got to do the next. And I'm like, but wait a minute, Michael Jackson, like literally chose us. So here we are. You know what I'm saying? Like that's sort of the top of the mountain, for lack of a better word, in terms of another artist being chosen by the artist. Mm-hmm. So it's just a blessing. I think about it all the time. And I think how blessed and fortunate we were to be the first group signed and the most successful to MJJ.
Name five of your favorite.
Well, not most successful. I'm sorry. That's wrong. I shouldn't have said that. The first group signed, because success is relative.
Well, let's talk about that. What does success mean to you, Nicci Gilbert, before we get to your five favorite Brownstone songs?
Success to me means being on the cusp of 54, happily married, being able to look back at my career and say, while I might not have made all the right decisions or perfect decisions, I made decisions that felt like I was coming from the right place at the time, which, 23 years old, young person, all you can do is kind of use what you got in that young mind of yours. Mm-hmm. So just proud, being able to look back and say, I worked my butt off and I came from the right place with everybody I encountered, even if it wasn't always the right thing, or I thought I was doing something right and turns out I could have done something better. The intention at the moment was always good. So that for me is success, just knowing that you did your best and you were thinking about good things and positive things and good intentions in the process, even if it wasn't always the right choice.
Amen. And your five favorite Brownstone songs? Let's
Oh
go.
my God, 5 favorite Brownstone songs. Okay, I'm gonna shock some of y'all because some of y'all, my favorites is the album cuts. First of all, I absolutely love All I Do, which was on the second album. Tricky wrote that. Of course, If You Love Me. Of course, Half of You. I can't pick all of them are my favorite.
Change daily, I'm sure.
You said, well, it changes daily, but If You Love Me, hands down, that's the record that the world discovered us on, and it has to be at the top of the list. But I really dig All I Do, and I like some of them cuts on that second album too, though.
Yo, Nicci, that second album was tight. You hear me still crying?
You know what I'm saying? I'm like, we had a Rodney Jerkins joint on there. It was just, yeah, it was a good record. It's hard to pick 5. I don't want to get in trouble.
What do you think was the reason Still Climbing didn't do as well as the debut album? Because y'all came out strong with 5 Mouths to Empty.
I think there's something called the sophomore jitters, and I think that every artist goes through this pace of, trying to compete with the first record. I think there was a freshness about the first record, and it was just an energy of like, oh my God, this is our first album. We got to do this. On the second record, it was more like, okay, how do we become something else? How do we go to the next level? Right. So that was the album where I lost a bunch of weight. That was the album where we focused more on dancing and routines and, all that stuff. So I think there were a lot of other variables in place that made it less about the music and more about like the look, the vibe, the hot producers, the next level, right? And I think we put a lot into that. And maybe that was it, like, falling into that freshman, sophomore jitters thing.
Such an amazing project once again. In the Game of Love, Foolish Pride.
Ooh, that was a good record. Yes.
You Give Good Love, and If You Play Your Cards Right. Y'all
Baby.
did that. Come on now, let's clap it up.
Baby, that If You Play Your Cards Right, let me just say, that Kina Cosper sang her face off on that there record, and she didn't even initially want to do it. I'm like, girl, if you don't do this song, yeah, fire.
Can I tell you, Kina Cosper was the best addition to the group. I enjoyed Kina. I loved everything.
Kina was amazing. I think everybody who's been in the group has added something really incredible. But the other thing is that Kina was from Detroit. So, we went to college together. We sang together in school. So it was kind of like that Detroit thing.
And Miss Brown is good too. What's her name? I forgot her name. Tasha?
Tisha's no longer in the group, but Tisha's also from Detroit. Yep. Yes, Tisha's. That's the thing about Brownstone that a lot of people, like, oh, you got this, maybe you got. One of the pros and cons of being in a group where everybody can sing their face off is at some point, eventually, people want to step out and be solo. Now, I've never really had the solo. I've done the solo thing, and I kind of did a half-hearted attempt at the solo thing because I've just always been into the group thing. And not at this point, it's not even about being self-conscious. It's just, I love harmony. I love sharing the stage with people. I enjoy hearing other people perform. But when you got women who really know how to sing their faces off, at some point, people want to go and be solo. And that's what Kina wanted. And that's what Tisha wanted. And who am I to be like, oh, no, girl, you got to always be on Brownstone. And then that's the other thing. Like, the fans are very, very, very particular about who's in a group. So when Kina came into the group, she got a lot of flack from people.
I know.
Because they're just, she got a lot of flack. Not from just, I was very supportive, contrary to popular belief. But a lot of other people gave her a lot of flack, and she kind of leaned into me to like help her navigate it. And I'm just like, I'm just kind of in this too. I can't figure it out. You know what I mean? So I think that happens when you have really talented people who ultimately decide, well, let me see what this looks like as a solo artist. And she did an amazing solo record. So I still think she's one of the top singers. Yes. I think she's one of the top performers in this business.
Is there anything you regret career-wise, something that you would have done differently when you look back? Anything?
What's really interesting is that there used to be a point where I would answer that question and I would be like, yeah, I could have done this. I could have done that. Again, getting to this place of like, being a 50-something-year-old, about to be 54-year-old person, still here, still healthy, still able to go out and perform. still lucky enough that people still want to hear our music? No, because I saw a movie years ago called The Butterfly Effect, and it changed my perspective on wanting to change things about your life or wanting to change things about your career, right? It sounds kind of, like girl, please, but changing one element, right? I could say, oh, the one thing that I would say is that I wish Maxie was still here. But you don't know what God has. And I still feel that way. I'm human. I still feel like I wish to God that Maxie was still here. I know there's nothing I can do to change that. There's nothing I could do to prevent that. But that would be the one regret that I have, that my sister's not here, right? I could say, oh, I wish this person stayed in the group, or, oh, I wish we did this song, or I wish we did this way. But that one thing that you change, that one single thing that you change, could change the entire trajectory of your career, right? So I can't say that I wish that I had done things differently, because again, I feel like every step of the way, I was doing what I thought was right at the time. And a lot of times, artists and creatives, people forget we was kids. We was 23, 24, 25 years old, right? So at 23, 24, 25, 20, sorry, we did the album, it was 22, 23, 24, 25. What do you really know, especially about the business, that you can actually say, well, I'm going to do this way because this is the best choice. This is the right thing to do. You just have to kind of go with your values and how you were raised, and, the little bit that you do know, and kind of roll with it. Because most of us are the first people in our family to be famous. Who else had to deal with Michael Jackson? Who else had to deal with Sony? Who else toured the world? I was in London. I will say this. I wish that I understood when we were on our European tour, instead of me walking around because I'm in Europe for months at a time and, like, we working too hard, we got too many interviews and stuff like that. I definitely wish that I had more of an appreciation for being a girl from the hood in Detroit, being able to see the world. But I was missing family. When you go to London, because you ain't coming back, they'd be like, okay, you got to interview at 5 a.m. You got to interview at 6 a.m. You got to interview. So naturally, the young 23, 24-year-old in me is like, this is too much. So I wish that I had known how to appreciate that better. But outside of that, I just thank God. No regrets.
That's good, isn't he? He's amazing.
God
He's
is
the
great.
reason why we could connect and do these interviews, have these type of conversations. You know,
Amen.
you talked about Charmaine Maxwell, who passed away
Yes.
in 2015. Rest in peace. What an amazing talent, beautiful soul. Can you share one of your fondest moments of Maxie? Something that you never shared before, Nicci.
Okay. I might have shared this like a long years ago. So what people don't know, maybe, and maybe people do know, Maxie and I were very, very close. She was my sister. We hardly had any arguments. We hardly had any, I mean, naturally it'd be like, I don't want to wear that. Wear that. I don't want to, that kind of stuff, right? Because Maxie was so laid back and so on the cut. Maxie didn't like choreography. Maxie was but she was also South American Guyanese. So she had that switch where if you hit it the wrong way, boom,
Baby,
bam, boom. You know what I'm saying? The West Indians got this,
I know.
the quiet
I'm
ones
from
you got to
Grenada.
watch out for, right? But the one fine memory I have is Maxie had gone over to South America. Maxie's mom passed away before she became a part of the group. And her grandmother, she had to go back home, and she's from Kakwani, which is like Berbice River, like far, far away. So she had to like get on this plane and then drive for hours, whatever. And I remember we got on the phone and we just cried because we missed each other so much. And it was like, literally, like, she was like, what are you doing? Oh my God, I miss you so much. I was like, I miss you too. And we literally were on the phone just in tears, like big grown kids, like, and it was just the moment that I realized how close we were and how important we were to each other. And she's like, I know I'm here for my grandmother. Now you got me about to be all choked up. I'm sorry. I know I'm here for my grandmother, but oh my God, I just didn't realize how much I love you and how much I miss you. And I was like, I know, me too. And I went through, like, we both went through a phase of like, because she was gone for maybe 2 weeks or something. It was just a really tough moment because we were roommates, we were group mates, you know what I mean? So yeah, it was really, and then when she came back, this is so crazy and this is so corny. Now hindsight, maybe it's not so corny, but she had always been talking about this dog. us getting a dog. And I was just like, Maxie, we can't get a dog. We have to work. We can't get a dog. We can barely pay our rent now. We're not getting paid like that. And then the record company put us on a stipend, and I used my stipend money to get her a dog named Pudgy. So when she came back, she had a little Pekingese.
Oh.
And Pudgy lasted for about, well, let me not get the ASPCA people, but you know, we ended up giving.
What y'all do to Pudgy?
My sister. We gave him to my sister.
Okay.
We gave Pudgy to my sister, but she just wanted a dog. I want a dog. I want a dog. I'm like, Maxie, we don't need a dog. We can barely. What are you talking? And then my sister moved in with us, and she was moving out, and she took Pudgy with her.
A lot can be said about you, Nicci Gilbert. What's the biggest misconception you think people have about you?
Ooh, a lot can be said. What's the biggest misconception? The biggest misconception is, you know, I've gotten to that place of like, it's weird because I'm just like, who cares? The biggest misconception, I don't even know that it's a misconception. I guess the biggest misconception is what happened on R&B Divas, right? I guess the biggest misconception, because that kind of set the tone for everything else. The biggest misconception is that I was this person who brought all my friends together, literally, you know, put this show together, invited everybody to be a part of it, and then all of a sudden wanted it to all fall apart. Like I wanted to just go in and be like, no, you can't go on tour. No, you can't do this. No, you can't do that, which is really crazy to me because all of them, and we've since had conversations and we're all good now. Monique and I had a really good, necessary conversation.
I watched it. It was so good. It ministered to my, no, for real. It ministered to my soul. And Nicci, I hope you have the rest of the ladies on your network so y'all can have these conversations that's needed in order to heal.
Yeah, it was so healing for us, but that was a big thing because, you know, I got this because I'm a very expressive vocal person, right? But everybody who knows me knows that I love very hard. I will give you the shirt off my back. I give to a fault. And I started to feel like I'm always looking out for folks, and it just seems like folks get what they need, and then it's kind of like deuces, you know what I mean? So I struggled with that a lot because everybody knew that my intentions have never been to be the B word, right? I won't cuss on your network. I cuss in real life, but we gonna, you know, it's just that I'm just this mean, you know what? And I'm out here just trying to control everything and everybody. I don't care what you do in your everyday life. I don't want to do anything but help people move forward and be the best version of themselves. That is genuinely who I am. That is genuinely how I get, you know, it makes me feel good to see my friends succeed. It makes me feel good to see my friends, you know, making things happen. And that image that the production company and certain producers, it really was. And people say, oh no, but you gave them that. But when you look back and you go back and you look at all the episodes of R&B Divas, you never saw me like coming up aggressive and like ready to go off on somebody. I think the thing that irritated people was that I was very Norma Desmond in that I would get up and leave in a heartbeat. That, you know, I have a Detroit way of speaking. Kenya's from Detroit. A lot of people from Detroit have a borderline condescending tone. It's just the Detroit thing that I've learned that I have to work on, but it isn't the intention to be condescending. It's just a sarcastic kind of, it's like Philly people, New York people, you know what I mean? Like Italians are known to be loud and, you know what I'm saying? And Detroit people are known to be able to cuss good, roll their eyes good. I don't have a poker face, which is difficult in this industry. And I think those are the things that people confuse me keeping it real and being straightforward with me being mean and nasty. And I'm not a mean, nasty person at all. In fact, I wish I had been meaner and nastier. Well, not nastier, but more direct and less BS more often. I'm figuring out that me trying not to do that ended up being more of an issue than me just doing that. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I understand exactly what you're saying. And I loved everything about the show. It started out as a positive show that reflects Black woman in a great light. And then somewhere it went left, unfortunately. I want to ask you, were there people saying, because season 1 was sweet and safe, were there people in the background saying, ladies, if y'all don't pick it up for season 2, if y'all don't give us drama, this show is over? Because
Okay,
season
so
two, that's when it seems like things went left. A lot of craziness entered.
honestly, now that I'm hearing things like Angie was the first person who told me that, yes, they did that. In fact, what happened was, and maybe I was a little overzealous. You know what I'm saying? Like I could have been. What I appreciate about my sister Faith is she definitely knows how to move in silence better. You know what I'm saying? I behind the scenes was very direct with the producers. I didn't feel like I should be direct with the cast members because I'm like, okay, I brought them on board. These are my friends. I was direct with them, but I didn't want to be like, hey, y'all, they're manipulating us and X, Y, and Z. Because like I said, I don't feel like anybody would have received that because everybody's like, oh, we on a TV show. We on the side of buses. The world knows us, girl. Bump what you talking about. These Y people are the ones we need to listen to, right? And they were very skilled at making great television. It wasn't about, the friendships and the sisterhood. I mean, we started off so good. And then it turned into, like I said, when I realized in writing that they didn't want me and Selena to be friends, and I tried to have a conversation. We tried to have a conversation offline. Selena wrote me the most beautiful letter after season 1.
That's what's
And I
up.
still have it. After season 1, she wrote me an incredible letter, and I felt so great about it. And then season 2 rolled around, and you can't hide the manipulation. You can't hide somebody saying, hey, so this is what we need you to do, or this is what we need you to say. And yes, there were people in everybody's ears, not in mine, because they knew I wasn't here for it. They knew I wanted it to be not necessarily kumbaya, but a positive show that showed real authentic drama and not drama that was created, for the sake of ratings, right? They didn't have any rights to the R&B Divas tour. So, and they asked us about it, and they asked us to include them on it. And Faith and I were like, no, this is the ancillary property that we were singers before we became a part of this. So we're going to keep this to ourselves. So then it became, oh, well, since we're not a part of the tour, it doesn't matter if it happens or not. And I'm just, assuming, allegedly thinking, I'm not saying someone actually said this, but it felt like, it was like, let's just make it about how we can stop the tour from happening, because we know we got 2 different groups of people putting together a tour. And you see the same thing when you look at some of these other shows out here that I won't name, where it's about a tour and the drama is more about it not happening than it is actually happening.
So sad, because all of you women are talented and you deserve all the bags that's on the table.
It should definitely be an R&B Divas tour. And now that I got the trademark for R&B Divas, if we can recover, which is part of the reason we started having these conversations, I would love for there to be an R&B Divas live tour. We've been talking to some promoters that are very interested, and I would love, and not just the R&B Divas that were on the show, but I just feel like it's an important time for R&B music, and I think it would be amazing. So it's not too late.
It's never too late. Can you give us an update on this P-Valley lawsuit? And are you the reason why we can't watch P-Valley? Are you
now, y'all not gonna put that
Nicci
on me, because
Gilbert?
here's the thing: them people got billions and billions of dollars, and let them tell it they are not worried about Nicci Gilbert Daniels. So there should be no reason why you shouldn't be able to watch P-Valley, because there is nothing that says that the show can't be on TV from a judicial perspective. And let me clear the air, because I know it's a lot of people who child, like, and that is the misconception with R&B Divas. I created the show, I cast the show. I was not paid for almost 2 years, and it was a franchise on. So I had no choice but to go to court. And before I went to court about R&B Divas, I waited almost a year before I did that, going back and forth, basically begging and pleading back and forth, like, please, I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And I was forced into it. And it's very similar with P-Valley. I didn't just come out the bag like, oh, that's my show, let me sue them. We sent nice letters. We sent warm and fuzzy, like, hey, listen, we see this show, and it just so happens that Nicci met with the CEO of Lionsgate, and she left all of her materials and all of her stuff. Here's the side-by-side comparison. Can we quietly resolve this? Can we just nip this in the bud so y'all can go do what y'all want to do and need to do? Because I didn't want to, especially coming off of the Kelly Price thing, which, lest we forget that, which is another thing for people to be like, she always, but Kelly Price was my sister.
Kelly Price, by the way, today is her birthday. Happy birthday, KP.
Oh, it is. Happy birthday, Kelly. Happy birthday. That's still my soror now. Happy birthday, soror. Yes. But yeah, so I had to do that because again, me trying to settle it privately just didn't work, right? So we did that for the better part of a year. And then when they were just kind of like on some, oh well, child, then we filed, we filed a complaint. And even in that process, we worked really hard to try to figure out how we could resolve this, because I knew that there were people like yourself and my husband who watched the show. Everybody loves listening. And that Mercedes, she fine, and she could Brandy, I'm sorry, fine, and she could dance, and I love her acting. And there's so many other talented people in the show. So I hated to be the person that was a part of this P Valley thing, being in this negative light, for lack of a better word. But my alternative was to just allow people to take a story that I truly believe came from the materials that I left with the CEO of the company that's presenting the story, and not fight for my creative intellectual property rights. Mother, this is something. Soul Kitten's Cabaret, while it didn't have $100 million budget like P Valley allegedly had $100 million plus budget, right? But the story, which has thick copyright protection, is the same beginning, middle, and end. And to this day, I welcome an intelligent conversation about how this can be resolved. I am millions of dollars in debt. They're threatening to try to sue me for their legal fees. We're in appeal right now, thank God, which it goes to 3 judges. But when you look at the side-by-side comparisons, when you look at the graph and the chart, when you look at the access that they had to my story, and you look at the fact that my story was copyrighted almost 10 years prior, and you had all of these celebrities, even though it wasn't the best production of it because it was my first show and we did not have a huge budget, the stories are the same. And a jury I deserve the right to a trial, for a trier of fact, for a jury to look at it and say, hey, listen, we see something here too. So that is all I'm looking for, is an opportunity to have a fair, especially after 2024 will be, this thing started in 2020.
Wow.
July 2024 will be 4 years.
Well, I wish you nothing but the best. I really do.
Thank you. We're confident in our appeal. We're very confident in our appeal. And the appeals court has been leaning in the direction of creatives from the stamp. Pirates of the Caribbean, same thing happened. Judge at the district dismissed it, and then it went to appeals, and allegedly they settled later for $300 million. I don't know that that's going to be my story in it. And then there was another Fortnite case, same judge, as a matter of fact. So I'm just hoping I have the same luck that some of those other people who had to appeal it have.
What do you want your musical legacy to be, Nicci Gilbert?
That we worked hard, that we put out great music, and that for generations to come, people will be able to enjoy our sound and our songs. We're 30 years in January of 2025.